Hello everyone, my name is Travis Treadway. I am a visual effects artist, and today I'm going to be showing you how to create a shield and impact system inside of Unreal. So we're just going to cover the technical setup for it today. I'm going to do a video in the future showing how to set up the visuals, but this one's strictly technical. We're going to be working with shaders and blueprints, and that is all. So yeah, if you're new to my channel, please subscribe. That would be fantastic. If you could leave me a like, that would be cool too. Help people find this video when they are searching. I know the YouTube algorithm suggests videos the more likes it gets, so it would be very cool of you to press the like button and subscribe, and it helped me out immensely. But yeah, let's go ahead and get started and get talking about some shields inside of Unreal. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and open up the Epic Games launcher and get started inside of Unreal. So today we're going to be using the Unreal Engine 4.26.2. That version does not matter much to you. It should be able to accomplish this effect inside of any engine version, but that's the one I am using today if you want to follow along with me. So I'm going to go ahead and launch this engine, get it going here. But yeah, if you want to download another version, or I think you could probably do this in Unreal 5, totally up to you. It's going to go ahead and set you up inside of the Unreal Project browser. Go ahead and select Games. You're going to want to start out, just for the sake of not having to set up an actual shooter. You can just go to First Person and say Next, and then we're going to go ahead and name this Shield Impacts. Beautiful. Alright, that's going to go ahead and start getting set up. Once that initializes and gets set up, we'll dive right in. Alright, so once you're up and running, your Unreal should look just like mine here, just inside of the first person template here. If you press Alt-P or press the play button, you can get started walking around and just shooting some cubes around, just having a little bit of fun inside of Unreal's first person template here. That's all well and good, but what we need to do is get started creating a shield. So what we're going to do is create a folder. We're going to go ahead and call it shield folder, and then open that up. And we're going to need three things today. First off, we're going to need a material. This material is going to be the actual shield, so we're going to name it shield. And then we're going to need a blueprint. We're going to create an actor blueprint. Set it to BP underscore, let's call it shield impact. Oh, goodness. Cool, BP shield impact. Awesome. And then lastly, now this step is unnecessary if you want to do it a different route, but for what we're doing today, we're going to be creating a material parameter collection. It is inside materials and textures, and then midway through the list is the material parameter collection. So you're going to create that. We're going to call it NPC underscore, let's call it shield values. Oh, no space here. Values. So when you create effects, a lot of people who are vets here know this. You want to do, you want to start out with a little acronym at the front of each one of the assets. So that way, when you are deep in a game and you have a bunch of assets, it's easy to just search up the actual blueprints. So if I'm looking for blueprints, I can just type BP, and that will find anything that has a BP in the front of it, or all the blueprints. Luckily, Unreal kind of jumps around that, and you can do filters here, which is pretty nice, but just standard practice stuff. So we're going to go ahead and first dive inside of the shield impact blueprint. It's going to show up something like this. We're going to add a component. We're adding a sphere. So you're going to go ahead and type sphere there, and that will get you a sphere. This one is going to be our shield, so I'm going to name it shield. And then what we need to do is set a material to it. We have M underscore, oh, I spelled shield wrong. There we go, M underscore shield. And that is the one that we have created. So this one should have nothing on it. You should just get a default look here because we haven't done anything to it yet. But then we can go ahead and pull that to the side now and compile that, of course. And then we can bring in this shield. So this is what our shield looks like right now. If we go inside our blueprint, that's just much too small. Let's go ahead and actually blow that up a bit. Let's go ahead and make it 10, 10, 10. Let's see how crazy that looks. Oh no, that's fine. Yeah, we'll have a big old shield in the middle of the floor here. That's all we need. Perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and close down that blueprint, and then I'm going to go ahead and open up m_shield. So this material really isn't too complicated, but for starters, we're going to need to turn the material into a transparent one. I get rid of the palette when I work, but I keep this one open so you can get the default view up here. And since we're making a sphere, keep it in the sphere mode. But we're going to switch the blend mode over to translucent. That's going to get us a nice like ghost-like look on it so we can see through the material, making it translucent. If you hold 1 and click, that's going to create a scalar value. You could also do a scalar parameter, totally up to you. The difference is this one can be edited inside of an instance, so we're actually going to go ahead and do this because it just is more logical. So we have an opacity node, and we're going to toss that into opacity. So for right now, we're just going to default this out to 0.3. It's going to make it slightly translucent and also slightly opaque, and we're going to go ahead and apply. Right now we don't have any color for it, so nothing crazy is going on there, but you can see now we have a semi-transparent material now you can see through. And then if we move this out of the way, you can see now we have a semi-transparent material on the sphere. So we're getting a direct result there. Let's go ahead and open up the sphere or the shield material. And then let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing we're going to need is a color for the shield. I'm going to make my shield purple, but you guys can make the shield whatever color you want. Purple is just my favorite color, so it's just the obvious choice for me. I'm going to actually let's make it like a bright purple. Perfect, and then I'm going to toss that into emissive and then that into base color. So we're going to get an emissive purple shield here. Shouldn't change too much in terms of its, in terms of its opacity. We can see right through it still, but it is a nice, I guess it's more of a pink than a purple. I kind of want to make it more purple. Let me go down to 1 in the red, see what we end up with here. I think anything that's the emissive in the kind of purple range gets pushed a lot more in the pink. Not purple enough. Gotta go deep purple. All about the purple. There's actually a purple store here in Seattle that we went to last weekend, and it is nothing but purple things being sold at the store. It was fantastic. But yeah, so here we have a purple translucent material. Awesome. Great start. Fantastic. Now we need it to actually do something, because right now it's not doing really anything. It's not even compiling. Just kidding. It's compiling. But there it is. We have a purple shield. So first off, we're going to do something that every game does. This is a very standard technique, and honestly, it's kind of a hack at this point, but this is a reverse depth fade is what we call it at my studio, but it's really just a depth fade in general. So let's actually call this distance, not depth fade. So distance, awesome. We're going to plug that right into fade distance. We're going to set this to 50. And we're going to take this depth fade and we're going to go ahead and 1- it. 1- inverts the value if it's a 0 to 1 normalized value. And then we're going to multiply it by another scalar parameter. So just like we had up here, it's going to be the same thing. If you hold down S and then click, you will get scalar parameters to just pop up on your screen, but you can also just type in scalar parameter. But we're going to go ahead and name this one, let's call it emissive. We're going to toss that into the multiply here. And for right now, I'm just going to set it to 50, I guess. That seems like a reasonable value. And we're also going to do an add here. So we're going to take the actual color of purple, and we're going to toss it into the base color and into the emissive. So it's going to add 1 to it. But what we wanted to do is add a multiplication of the emissive value and the color. So now we have, so let's go and do one more multiply. We're going to take that emissive value, multiply it by the color, and we're going to add that to it. And then let's see what results we get. We'll let it compile here for a second. Cool, so you shouldn't see any changes on the actual shield itself. But once we look at the shield in game, yes, you will now see on the bottom there is a lit up line of the depth fade. The depth fade node basically just takes anywhere that the material is intersecting with another volume and is able to detect how far away it is from that intersection. So now we're using those values to drive a value. But if we go ahead and shrink this, we can adjust it however we see fit. So we can turn it there, and then we need the distance node. So if we up this distance, you'll see that goes up further. We can do that as high as we want, or we can keep it nice and small. You'll see this in really every game, but like especially Fortnite or Apex Legends, they do this for all of their shields. That way when shields overtake things, you can see that line come across as it comes forward. It just gives the player a visual representation of where the shield is actually at and how to avoid it. But yeah, super simple shield stuff right here. Nothing too fancy going on in this material right now. So next up, we're going to be using one of my favorite nodes inside of Unreal, something I use probably every time I create a shader. It's really good for doing dissolve effects and really good for the technique we're using right now. And that is the sphere mask node. The sphere mask node is really cool. You can take two locations. You give it a point A and a point B. Point A is the area that you want a arbitrary sphere to spawn. And then point B is the center of your material that you're working with. So what I'm going to need is, I'm going to right click, and we're going to need the world position, the absolute world position. Tag that into B. And then we're going to use a collection parameter for A. So if you look here, we can go ahead and find, remember that material parameter collection we created earlier? There it is, MPC shield values. You're going to go and click on that. Right now inside the parameter names, there are none. We need to go inside and create those. So let's go ahead and do that now. Let me pop this out of the way. We're going to open up MPC shield values. Inside of here, this is a material parameter collection. It's basically just global values that are stored inside of it that we can use at any point via a material, a blueprint, or a Niagara system. But you can really use them anywhere. I found you can use them in timelines. You can use them all over the place. They're very, very useful, but they're global parameters. So if these change, it changes for every value in the game. So if you want something to be global, you can do it this route. Or you can do another route, which is dynamic material instancing, which is a little bit more in depth, but I can save that for another video. But for right now, what we need it to do is have two vector parameters. And what these vectors are going to do, they're going to be the locations of where we hit the shield. So we're going to set this to a location 1 or loc 1. We're going to set this to location 2, loc 2. Actually, that's illogical. We're going to set it to loc 0 and loc 1 because we always start with 0 in programming. I don't know why, but that's just how computers do it, and so I'm going to do it. We're going to go ahead and press save on all of these. Let it save packages real quick. Awesome. So yeah, go ahead and save those, and then we have location 0, location 1. And then if we open up the shield now, we can go into the material parameter name and switch it to location 0. So it's going to make that vector into a vector 4. So what we're going to need to do is create a component mask that is a vector 3, just because later down the line it will need to be a vector 3. Then we're going to do the same thing for the radius. So we're going to go ahead and copy this, paste it, and then you'll have another one of these collection parameter nodes. And you can go ahead and create another one this way too, totally up to you to create a collection parameter node. And we're just going to test that in the radius. But for radius, they need a float. So if we go back inside here, we can create scalar values or floats and create an array up here. We're going to do the same thing, but we're going to call it radius 0. And then the other one is going to be, there we go, radius 1. Awesome. So we have two radii, or radiuses. I'm not sure what the correct word is there. and then 2 locations. And so now we have a material parameter collection set up. So I'm going to go ahead and save that and go back here. I'm going to go to switch that. Oh, just need to let that compile for a second. Come back to it. There it is. Okay, radius 0. So we have location 0, radius 0, going into sphere mask 0. Next step is we're going to push this out into an if statement. Just take an if node, and what we're going to do is basically say, if you are inside the sphere, or if the sphere is touching this this material we're working with, or this geometry shape we're using, then we're going to turn it to 0, so nothing's going to happen. However, if it is touching the sphere, if we move the location to any point here, then we are going to activate a more emissive version, or the same emissive version that we had up here that we're using for the depth fade. That's going to go down here. So then we're just going to go ahead and add that value over into the color value that we had earlier. Oh, Control Z that. If you press Control, you can pull out any node like this and replace it to another spot. You just have to connect them here. And then we're going to go ahead and apply. So now we have it set up. We have a radius. Oh, real quick, go ahead and toss a value inside hardness. Right now we're just going to set it to 1. This is all visual stuff, so later on we can adjust that depending on what you guys want it to do. But go ahead and set the hardness to 1 for now. Press apply. Cool. So now when we go back to the scene, we should see no visual difference. Let's see if that is the case. Yep, no visual difference. Awesome. That's exactly what we want. So next up, we're going to go inside the blueprint. Same one we started with, shield impact. I'm going to save it because I hadn't saved it. Always remember to save your stuff, guys. Oh my gosh, save your stuff. It's a good way to ruin your day. If you do not save and you crash, it is just a bummer. So we don't need any of these nodes they give us at the start. What we need to do is click shield, scroll down here on the right, and get the on component hit event. You can also right click and search it in here, but I just find it easier to go down there. Then what we're going to need is to split the struct here, so that way we get all of the hit information from that. And then this part is a little bit more technical stuff, but not too tough. Pretty easy setup here. What we're going to do is create a variable. So we're going to go ahead and create a variable. We're going to call this hit number. That makes sense. Hit number. Awesome. We're going to make it into an integer. Awesome. And then we're going to go ahead and drag that out here. We're going to get hit number. And we're going to take hit number and we're going to do a switch. So we're going to switch on int with hit number. So every time you hit, it's going to take this value and choose whatever way to go down the event graph, depending on what the value is of hit number. So when we actually hit the shield on component hit here, we're going to go ahead and we're going to set a vector parameter value. Awesome. I'm going to search for the shield values, and we're setting location 0 to the hit location. Boom. So that's a start for right now. This should get us what we want. Let's go ahead and test it. Hit number is going to automatically be set. Oh, you got to compile first, but it will be set to 0, so it'll go to the 0 value first and nowhere else after that. So if I go ahead and move this out of the way and press play, right now we should see nothing. And I'm hoping that you guys at home are seeing why we're seeing nothing. And that is because we did not put a value into radius. Radius is still 0. So if we set this value to a 100 for right now, just as a default value, we should be able to press play. And then, oh no, never mind. Give me 1 second. Why did it not work? Am I setting the value? Let's double check. So we're doing on component hit. Yep, that's still firing. Good. If we look inside, it's setting to location 0. Good. Material value, yes. We compiled it. We're taking location 0, radius 0. Okay, give me a second here. Oh, we didn't put a value to compare it to. Let's go ahead and throw in a 0.5. So sphere mask at hardness of 1 is a binary thing. So if it's white, it's 1. If it's 0, it's black. Just 1 or 0, completely binary. So 0.5 is going to be our threshold. If it's above 0.5, it's going to turn on. If it's under 0.5, it's going to turn off. So that hopefully will give us our fix. Boom. Let it compile here. We should see one right there where I hit. Why are you doing this to me? Let's see. 0 value, multiply value. Compare my notes here. Because I'm using the depth fade still with it. So what we need to do is not have the depth fade involved whatsoever for this one. So we're just going to take the color in the emissive value and multiply. If you hold M, you get a multiply node. Go ahead and drag that multiply node into the A is greater than B. And now apply. And now, I'm hoping that should get the job done. All right, so go ahead and move this out of the way. Yeah, there it is. So now when you hit the shield, we'll see that location change and that mask will move. Beautiful. So that's all well and good. It's a great way to start the technical process. We now have an impact point and we have the actual shield itself. But we wanted to do a little bit more. And the further we go, the more visual this becomes. But for starters, let's go ahead and get it set up on a timeline to make it look a little bit nicer. So let's go ahead and let me go ahead and end play here. We're going to need to pull up the blueprint again. So this blueprint is very simple right now, right? But what we're going to need to do is make it just a little bit more in depth. And we're going to have a second point as well so you guys can see what happens when you add in an extra element to it. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this off. We're going to do an increment int. We're going to take hit number, which is the int we're going to increment. Basically, it just adds 1 and makes it equal to the value. So just plus is 1 here. And we're going to set. Actually, we don't need to set. That should just get the job done there. And then if we right click, scroll down here, you will find one of my favorite things, which is a timeline. This is going to be shield impact, say 0. Oh no. Let me go ahead and back to the event graph. Let me rename that so it's actually correct. Perfect. Shield impact 0. And then I'm going to toss this into play from start. So the next thing is going to be playing this timeline from start. Timelines are cool. Basically, what you do is you give it a graph. And we're going to name it impact 0, a float. So you create a float up here. It's going to create a float curve. And you can name that curve. This is impact 0. Basically, it creates a curve, and we can use that curve to send a value to another node. So I'm going to set the time of this to 0. And the value of this to 0. And then I'm going to create another one. We're going to set something quick, 0.3 to, let's say, 100 for now. And then the length of this is going to be 0.3 seconds. Cool. So that's all we need to do for that one. For the second one, we can just copy and paste. And we can create the name for it, shield impact. Let's call it 0, 1. And let's just call it 1. I don't think we need more than double digits here. And then we're going to do a second set down below for later. But for right now, we're going to do in the update. So this is being called every tick inside of this curve. We're going to set a scalar value, parameter value. Perfect. It's going to be the same kind of setup as the set vector parameter value. We're going to click the MPC shield values and go to radius 0. We're going to take impact 0, plug it into the parameter value, and then boom, that should do it. Let me go ahead and press play now, move this out of the way. Let's see if we get a impact that expands. Yes, we do. Oh, but we are incrementing the value, so it's now changing to the second set. So to get started on doing a second impact, we're going to go ahead. Oh, that was not it. Give me a second here. Here it is. Pull this up. We are inside M-Shield. We can do the same exact thing. So we're just going to copy this whole thing. Copy, paste. Same setup, and you can do this as many times as you like with as many different impacts if you need them to happen simultaneously, or if you want, let's say, a Gatling gun shooting it. Totally up to you on how many of these you want. All you need to do at the end is take them and add them together. Oh. And then toss it into the add at the end. And you can do this for as many as you would like. You need to plug that into, oh no, for the greater than, need this value into the greater than. So this is kind of what it looks like. There's a quick little screenshot overview of what it looks like. And then we're going to take location to location 1, and then radius to radius 1. And that's all that's really going to change there. And we're just going to apply. Let it compile. Awesome. We're going to go ahead and save that. The beauty of Unreal is just waiting for those compiling times. And then we're going to go to the blueprint. Awesome. We're just going to go ahead and copy everything. I made a shield impact timeline, so I'm just going to delete that one that it copied with it. Pop it down here. We don't need the switch on int. We need to just take this one, the 1 value, toss it down here. Cool. We still want hit location going in. And we no longer need to increment it at this point. What we need to do is take hit number and set it. We're going to set it back to 0, which is the starting value. Play from start. And then lastly, we're going to plug this into radius 1. So update, impact 0 goes in the parameter value. And then let's just grab it all and press Q to clean it up. And then compile. Boom. Okay, so let's go ahead and press play. Let's see how it looks. Boom. Okay, so that second one's not increasing in size. So let's see what's going on inside of the shield impact. Okay, so we have a value in here. It's going up to 100. It's at a length of 0.3. It's updating. Good. All that stuff seems right. Let's double check it's working. So if we pull that to the side, we can zoom out and make sure that it is firing off. So yes, it's firing off. Okay. That orange line just means it's activated, so you can follow along with debugging. Okay, so maybe it's inside of our shield material that's throwing it off. So it's still that location 1, location 0, or radius 1. Adding, good. Radius 1 is activating. We don't need this to be 100 at the start. Let's see. So that's working, but the second one is changing. Why is it deleting? So it's working, but it's changing the location of the second hit also. That's what's happening. So it's firing, it's setting this correctly. But then, that's what's happening. Boom. A simple switch. That's the beauty of game dev, guys. You just, you look forever and it's one tiny little thing. So now we should see boom, boom, boom. Perfect. Cool. So now we have different hits going off on the shield. And yeah, that's probably where I'm going to end things for this video so we don't get too in-depth with the artistic stuff. But this is how you get started getting hit reactions on a shield. You can make those curves inside of the timeline however you want them, so that they decrease in size, or they, you can have them warble. You can do all sorts of stuff with those curves. But yeah, if you want to get started doing some different visual stuff to them, You can always multiply any of the radius by like a noise to get it to be a little bit more warbled. You can add another if statement or even an equals threshold that determines sort of a bleeding edge and make the hardness not as strong. You can take really any direction with it. And I'll showcase a bunch of that stuff in a video to come later. But for this one, I just wanted to showcase the technical setup. So yeah, that's going to be all for the shield. That's going to be the technical setup. We have it all functioning. Everything's working the way we want. And I am happy to just showcase that for you guys. If this video helped you out at all, please hit the like button. If you could, that'd be awesome if you could subscribe. You know, just hit all those YouTube things for the algorithm to help me out and grow my channel. That would be fantastic. If you have a question, please leave it down in the comments. I'm pretty active on YouTube, so I'm happy to respond to anything that you guys have come up in the process or anything you want to accomplish with the shield. I'm happy to try to help usher you in the correct direction. But yeah, thanks so much for watching. Take care.